Welcome back to another one of my replay analyses. We're going to be covering Red and KurtMage again. KurtMage submitted a 15-minute match versus a 5-minute match and an 8-minute match, and is still exploring the vibe to GM build. He's following it as far as I can tell well enough. Obviously, there's some supply blocks and things in here. We're going to talk about it. And this is not after seeing the first video that I released, so don't expect any improvements in gameplay or any of that kind of stuff as of yet. You might see some others here in a little bit, but I just wanted to give you some context for what's going on. And remember, when you see these supply blocks, sometimes it's because your opponent did it, sometimes it's because the player did it. Generally speaking, when you're here, this is acceptable and okay. Later on, this is either your opponent doing it or yourself. And if you could see the timing of when it's occurring, I believe there's a push out that forces him into that. Which, if you look at what he said in the submission, it's on the StarCraft 2 Reddit submission, or All Things Terran, I can't remember. And he talks about having struggles specifically with this build against his when he's playing online. So we'll go ahead and jump right on into it. Remember, these are gold players. We don't expect any kind of fancy micro. We don't expect anything that's crazy with regards to what they're doing. As you can see, it's a 15 minute. Go ahead and shrink that guy down. Red in the lower right hand corner, and yellow for KurtMage in the upper right hand corner. Yeah, KurtMage is the one requesting the analysis, so I will be focusing primarily on him. Both players are going to need to be building this supply depot very shortly here. KurtMage, one of the things that I would suggest you do is sending your SCV over early. If you look at your mineral supply, I'll check this back in just a second ago or so. I should have hit pause. This is my fault for not doing it. You have 25 minerals. Those 25 minerals are several seconds of build time. That can affect your build order. So if you're trying to follow a bronze to GM build, and you're somewhere in your range skill-wise, one of the things to help improve it is improving your timing of when you finish the build. So that 25 minerals should be 0 when you start that, not 25. So basically, all of the maps have, if you rally that first SCV over here, the timing is you'll have about 90 to 100 minerals when they get to the closest corner. The reason that's important, when I say the closest corner, I'm talking about the closest corner to the expansion that's down here. So you want to try and place it here. The reason being is if you get siege pushed and you scout it, your supply depot is already on the defensive side, not the offensive side. In addition to that, you can lower it or raise it so it doesn't actually slow down any SCV rallying later on. Again, these are things that are beyond my skill level that matter. I'm a Diamond 2-ish, Diamond 3 in that area. I have all races at Diamond 3, Terran at Diamond 2. So I tend to know a little bit more about Terran, but this is just a general thought process or philosophy. When you hit those higher levels, how can I maximize my income? Reducing your rally time and distances by grabbing those closer mineral patches. So this would be a way to improve your income ever so slightly. It's not a lot, but just a tiny, tiny bit. As long as there's no idling that's occurring and you have them on the closer patches, it's going to be more value to you. Differences are half seconds or seconds. That's why it's like a GM refinement thing. And you'll eventually get to that level if you continuously try and improve. These are just things to eventually get your mind on. Your gold, don't worry about it right now. Point is that you're rallying your workers good, but make sure you start this a little bit early from this context. All right, let's go ahead and jump back in. Your opponent is doing something similar. They are putting their supply depot immediately, and they cut SCV production. This means that they're going to be short SCVs, which means your production and things are going to be a little bit faster, which means you could get a little bit ahead because of what they were doing. You're doing a very, very similar build. So there's a variance in time. That time variance is okay. Reason being is because you are grabbing the barracks a little bit later, or off at a different location. You're continuing SCV production. SCV production, SCV production, SCV production. Fully saturate, which you should be doing here. Nice. I like to grab the two that are going to the far mineral patch closest to gas, but you don't need to do that. That's my personal preference. It means that when this one is headed back, I shift click into it, and then when the next one comes back, I shift click into it. Or I grab one here before it goes and re-rally it there, and when the other one heads back, I shift click it into it. Just one click, it's very easy. Not a big deal, just something that I like to do. The SCV headed to the low ground. Interesting. I don't know quite why you're doing that. Maybe it's because you're going to get a factory immediately and you want to get a command center and you skip the orbital. But you didn't skip the orbital. Maybe you're... Ooh, you are scouting. Oh my goodness, look at that. The orbital right away, the marine right away, perfectly fine. You could go factory, or I would switch in and get a Reaper instead. The Reaper is so that you can get across and you can see what they're doing very quickly and be able to place pressure. And you can actually kill the SCV getting this factory under construction. Expansion's great. You drop your mule immediately, continue to build SCVs, re-rally into your mineral line so you have max saturation. Good job on building your wall. Everything's perfectly fine. I don't see any problems here other than you're floating a ton of gas. So with this 200 gas, that is easily a factory. That is your Reaper plus a reactor. That is a tech lab plus stim plus a couple of getting your factory. It's a lot of gas. So when you're doing your build order, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are trying to pursue a path that maximizes the income that you are acquiring for yourself and the units that you have. So noticing what you're doing, you literally have done nothing with gas in it as of yet. Now, I know that you're going to want to get a factory relatively soon. You're scouting, which is awesome. You see that they're getting a factory. Holy shit. I don't have a factory. Fuck. Okay? I understand that's what's going through your head if you're scouting and paying attention to what your scouts saw. But that's one of those kind of things where you... Oh, and you see this tech lab. Your SCV right here, just patrol back and forth. It's okay to lose that SCV to slow them down because you're going to immediately get your factory, and you need that time that's slowing them down where they have to A-move and attack your... Or they have to attack your SCV before they can get there, and then they have to get their SCV out of the way, and their marine and stuff isn't on the way. You're going to slow down their build ever so slowly, or slightly, which will be very helpful for you to be able to get this factory up that much faster. Going with what you saw, you might want to get that tech lab immediately. You keep building your marines, get yourself ready, keep getting your supplies, make sure you don't get supply capped, make sure you continue to build SCVs. Your eco is what's going to get you ahead long term. So you want to make sure you lose as little as possible during this pressure. You know it's coming. So get your Cyclone immediately. Instead you went for the Tech Lab. If you're going to do that, why don't you get it here so that you can get out your siege tank that much faster. Sorry. I was like, well, my brain, why is it doing this? So imagine if, instead of having to wait the 18 seconds to build this, and you're already halfway done with your tank. Imagine your tank being right here, ready to go. Imagine having your tank down here, sieged in front of your bunker before it even gets there. You have immediate control. And then you could take a Marine or an SCV or two and send it out if he's just outside of your range to make it so your siege tank can engage. Or if he isn't perfect with his placement, you can then, he has to unsiege and you're able to unsiege and attack and have the advantage because you have the bigger army. Little tiny things. This bunker is really not helpful long term, and eventually you're not going to want to build it in a TVT. The only reason you'd ever build this bunker is if you are going to have a Marine only force, or you are trying to skip to like directly into BC and just jumping over, getting a tank and all that kind of stuff. Your barracks is idle, you have supply, and you have money. Ooh, that's a good play. That way you get your nice, and then of course you're going to get your double Vikings. The problem is you don't need Vikings right now. What you literally need was this tank. If this tank was out those 20 seconds ago, you'd have been gold. You would have literally had it right here, prevented this entire attack. Not a bad. Awesome, you killed one of his Marines, that's good. You want to put your tank, like send it up over here or something like that. You need to be able to get in range of his. Look, he's got a second tank already. Your first tank just came out. But if you had this first tank earlier, this would have gone away. In addition, your tank, great positions, take out the second one, makes it so he pressures in the Marine, kills it off. Beautiful. Don't let him get this third tank that up and running without being able to take him out. You want to periodically like try and poke a little bit. It's okay to take a tank shot. One tank shot does not kill a Marine. Two does. Also, he repositioned. Make sure you continue to own that vision. Nice. Look at this awesomeness. Then you get Viking control, pushing that in, killing all his Marines. Unload, attack. Unload and attack. Unload and attack. Unload and attack. Unload and attack. You can even rally and unload. Pull your Marine back or push forward. Now you need to make sure you get stim for your bio. Get another command center and keep your going on your advantage. Drop, if you have to, a supply update, an extra supply. Freaking awesome. Okay. You were struggling like crazy to handle this push. And you've actually handled it, and you were super far ahead. You can look at your army supply. Yeah, he has more gas spent. Okay, he's got a medevac, a Viking, and 2 tanks. Okay? But he no longer has the position in any way, shape, or form. So you're in a great... This is like a massive improvement from the last time. But just drop those supply things to continue producing. I see you're building 3, just 1. And then you can get your mules running and you're good to go. Get a command center. Keep doing what you're doing. You've survived the hardest part of this push. Now, the question is, how do you want to punish him for it? You can either go massively eco, which is dangerous for 2 reasons. One, he might group up all of his forces, come back across and attack you. Or you can just try and get little edges to advance your lead, in addition to making sure you're being safe. So, for example, this Viking, make sure you have a Viking or 2 at home. But grab a Liberator and just rally it and set it right on top of his base. His army, 1 Marine, 2 Marine, and a Viking, is going to have a really hard time killing that Liberator before it kills a bunch of SCVs, especially if he doesn't pull them very quickly. Make sure that he doesn't ever get this base up. So as soon as you get your next tank and your next set of Vikings, and you start your tech lab for your stem, make it so you push across and see what you can do to control what he's doing and pressure him while you continue to macro at home. Make sure you spend your money and make sure you don't get supply blocked. I know that we're supply blocked and you have been for a long time. You have extra queues. You're doing everything you can in your life to make it so that you get unsupply blocked. You have idle SCVs. He's pulled off. He's no longer attacking. You did a great job of defending. So get another couple of, if you are supply blocked, spend your resources in a way to make it so that you can get supply blocked faster in the future and spend up the income that you've created. That's why I say build another command center, build extra production, those kind of things. If you can help it, don't get supply blocked. But if you do end up getting supply blocked, don't let your money float this high. Another command center, 2 more barracks, 3 more barracks, and you're flying. Idle workers need to be re-rallied back. Get your more gas because you can see you're very gas heavy. Saturate your gas. These are things you want to be checking. So when you see the pros do things like this, they're like, ah! What they're doing is they're actually checking to see how over supply cap they are, making sure that these are fully saturated, making sure that they're not getting like a widow mine or a low count or what have you of units, making sure that they are selecting all of the buildings that they want. So they're like, oh, I need to go to this thing. And they're making sure that they can like build their next building that they're looking to do. They have an single idle worker. Also, I'm hitting control and clicking here. That's how I'm selecting all 4 at the same time. But they're making sure that they don't have any idle workers, things of that nature. And they're like queuing up the next buildings sometimes. Usually they don't queue up the next buildings because they're just so crisp in their timing and they're just so fast about what they want to do. Once you get this set up, make sure you get your stem, continue to build your stuff, get medevacs or liberators. You don't need medevacs in TVT. It's useful to do drops, but if you're going to go mech, make it so you go mech. If you're going to go, ooh, look at that. Nice job. You killed a couple of Marines. He's trying to put pressure. Look at the army supplies. You are powering up. You are 25 supply ahead. That's huge. You are massively ahead. Don't let yourself lose that ahead. That's why you get the command center. Make sure you get your upgrades. Make sure you get your extra resources, which you are doing. Good job. And continuing to build supply. You don't need too much overhead on your supply. I understand that you're at the gold level, so this is perfectly okay. No problems there. Make sure you get upgrades on this. Get ready to put, once this one goes and lands, put down another one. Because you know what's going to happen is, the timing is you're oversaturated on this location and you have idle workers. And those idle workers, all 7 of them, oh my goodness. 2 of them are obviously your supply mule, your supply builders. This one was a supply builder, but it can also be because you haven't gotten your next upgrade. Make sure you are thinking about it. You can always scan him, right? Making sure, or her, whomever you're playing against, making sure they're doing your stuff. See what production they're going? Oh, they're going lots of barracks. How can I counter that? Well, you can counter it with more barracks, which you're doing. You could put down a second factory or an extra command starport. You can continue to do those things. Dropping is a great idea to put them off the foot. So if you can like come down around here, land back here with a tank or two and all that good stuff, cool. Or land one here, or one here and one here, and you now created a whole bunch of pressure for your opponent to deal with. At your level, a lot of gold players, if you hit them in two places at the same time or similar timings, they're going to struggle really hardcore. Make sure you add all of your production into your hotkeys, because you need to be able to look at the fights and not actually have to look back. That's something I learned right around the platinum level. And I went from mid-plat, low-plat, to diamond very, very quickly because I was able to spend all of my money and was able to concentrate on the fight that I was trying to do. Look at that. I wouldn't drop that. I'd run my ass away. Nope, turn around. Oh, no! And oh my god, you got out with 10 health. That's pretty crazy. You don't always have to have a full medevac. Also, make sure you send your medevac home and repair it, or drop the Marines and then run them home, so you don't accidentally lose this to a random roving Viking. Right? What I'll do is I'll set like a Viking on a random patrol path through the map. Like I'll hit like here, I'll hit like here, I'll hit like here. Look, he put up some defenses. But had you been there a minute ago when I talked about it, those units would not have existed because you'd have already. He just hadn't produced them. So a lot of this is timing, a lot of this is speed. You have this expansion, awesome job. You are in that gold level. Don't feel bad about putting down sensor towers. Like stick one like here. That way you can cover this space. Set one like over here so you can cover all of this space in here. And that way gives you a lot of protection, a good idea of what your opponent's doing, etc., etc. You also have air superiority, barely. What I would do is I'd poke, attack that, pull back, attack that, pull back. You know what I mean? Like just try and kill one Viking. Make sure he can't get what he's doing now with 6 Vikings ahead of him. That's why I say maybe you need another starport, etc. Again, idle workers, F1 is your friend. You stop producing tanks for a little while there, so I don't see. You only have what, one? What is this? You only have one tank. Oh, you have 2 tanks. So those 2 tanks, they're like, you don't need medevacs anymore. Your Marines die super fast. You need like 5 medevacs on the high end. You have 5 right now, 6 right now, right? You don't need a whole bunch. You need Vikings more in a TVT. Units are flying across, just doing damage. You've lost air superiority. He's getting a pressure on you. You are producing continuously. He's managing this. Remember, at your level, most players can't do 2 things at the same time. So him fighting you, he's not producing at home. You just need to continue to make sure you're producing it here. Getting more Vikings. I like the other command center. That's great. You can move it over here. That's a cool idea. I see where your head's at. Get yourself some extra gas if you need to. There's a few options for what you can do here. You can try and break him. All those siege tanks, that's really hard to do. He has a ton of siege tanks. Liberators. Marauders. If these were Marauders, you'd have been able to take out all of the tanks, or at least get them. So you scanned, saw that he had all these siege tanks sieged, and then attacked moved right into it. I'm going to pause that for a second. He has so many tanks. 4. 3 over here. You scanned it. You saw that they were sieged. And then you proceeded to take your ball of Marines and move them at him. I don't know if it's possible for a 1-1 ball of Marines to win against 7 tanks, period. I don't think it's... with medevacs and Marines covering it, absolutely. And this is one of those things that you learn with time and experience. You kind of see what your opponent, lift this up and put it back into it. Make sure you repair it. Don't let it die. You spend 550 minerals on that, you don't want to lose it for nothing. It's okay to lose the turret, it's 100, who cares? Especially since you have 2,500 minerals. You have 11,000 gas. So what I'm seeing is idle, these are the things you should have had with the advantage that you have and the resources you have. at least another 2-star points in this situation. Would have completely crushed this, because you got like 10 Vikings and completely blown out all of his Vikings and had 2 Liberators and laugh at him. And that's if you were to just continuously have producing Vikings and Liberators on what you're seeing here. This is a cool idea. I would actually just have sent it over here, so it's like you can actually gain resources and energy from it, versus it sitting in your base doing nothing. And you're perfectly fine. Like, I get it. This is a stressful situation. You probably have never been in it before, so don't worry about too much on all those things. I see this drop. That's awesome. I love it. I don't think it's enough to get him to come back, though. If it would have been like 3 medevacs, you might have been able to get him to come back and force him to attack you. Him forcing to attack you, that means an unsiege. That's great. Good job killing income, right? He was oversaturated, so he pulled out a lot. You're doing great. You can kill, like, his reactor. Tech labs, nice, I like it. The reason that you kill the tech lab, obviously, you stop the tank production. In the reactors, you do... Oh, don't forget to kill the tank. You saw the idle tank. Kill it. Kill it. Ah, oh. So close. And you didn't. You got him to pull a bunch back. But he unfortunately has so much still. And your positioning, right? He has a concave. So, I wish I could, like, draw on the screen, right? There's a thing called a concave. That's where there's a curve on the inside of a spoon. That's how I always think about it. And the inside of the spoon is the side that is trying to... If it's pushing out, you're going to lose with that, right? If I have the curve and my opponent's shooting range stuff from all of these different angles, I'm in trouble if I'm, like, crushed out trying to push all the different angles. So concave and convex. He's got a concave. He's like scooping your army up and placing it. So he has the bigger force that is able to attack. You cannot get out of this position. You should mine this, run around, break these rocks, and then come back around behind him. Mine these, and got him entirely. He has no vision over here. He has no idea this is here. It's only, what, six SCVs pulling that? If you sent, like, this many Marines, just this ball right here, and he had no idea it was missing, you just, boop, and you sent it around, completely killing him, you've gutted his entire force. He has to win with this army. Admittedly, it's a great army, but if you had more Vikings that you were continuously building, you'd have been fine. All right, back to the game. He has a great concave on you. You're not going to be able to come out. Remember, he's got these 7, 8, 10 tanks and Marines covering it. You're just not going to be able to break that. You need a bunch of Marauders. You need to have Vikings to kill his Vikings and Liberators to kill his tanks. Those would be the path. You have too many barracks for what you're doing, and you're not hitting in angles and off kilter to what he's doing to make it so that you can win. Bio's advantage is about hitting in more than one location or in places and ways they don't expect. If you're going to push Bio into this army, you're going to lose. Just period. You're gonna lose. So if you have, imagine having just all of the Thors. You could break this entire army without a problem. The problem is he has so many Vikings and so many tanks that you're just not going to be able to get out because you haven't been producing your own Vikings. Don't concede the air battle unless you're going to win on the ground. And if you're going to win on the ground, that means all tanks. That means all Thors. That means Cyclones to cover those. Or, in the air, you win the air battle by getting a bunch of Vikings, a bunch of Warriors. And then you use that to springboard into your tanks, which is what he's done. Look at all these Vikings and the fact that he has so many tanks. It doesn't matter if he has Bio or not. If you had 100 more Marines, you're going to kill maybe these 2 tanks, maybe a handful of his Vikings. He's going to eventually push through you, and you're going to have a really, really tough time. In addition, don't be afraid to move your command centers to other bases to make it so that you're in a good place. And that's what I was saying, and you did it over here, good job. And all those mules too, look at that, you're going to saturate yourself with so much money, it's crazy. The problem is you no longer have enough Viking production to be able to really fight him. And you kind of didn't have the long-term plan on getting out of this. You did a great job early game, and now you're in a situation you can't get out. And I can see that you decided to leave. A good game, a lot of progress from your other games, and I think you made a really good choice. You can see he's idle workers all over the place. He didn't resaturate his main, way oversaturated here. He has a little bit of an army helm. That's okay. That's cool. Honestly, you want to have one. I would put a siege tank like snuggled in right here. Maybe another one like over here, and then maybe another one here or here. So that way you can, if you get dropped on top of your tanks, you can kill the units that are on top of it, but you also give a big radius coverage of your base. It's a great way to stop or at least reduce the damage that Doom drops do and deter them from doing them because you have your army and your stuff at home doing that. Things to note, you were on 3-3. That's fucking awesome. Problem is, you're fighting tanks. You had no Marauders to tank the shots, therefore your bio just evaporates. You on +2 weapons. Hell yeah, that's awesome too. The problem is you only had 2 or 3 tanks. You stopped producing them. You decided to prioritize other things. And then, of course, you didn't have enough air. We talked about that ad nauseum. I don't need to revisit it. You also were very oversaturated, which is fine. You were stuck in a really shitty situation. You continued to build SCVs, which is awesome. You have 82 SCVs at this point. That's a really good number of SCVs. I don't know if you really want more than that until you get up into like the master's level or the GM level where you're going to like be positioning and constantly doing things. So idly, with the number of SCVs you have currently, but you want to have them all busy on bases, right? You need to be on all of these like 3 or 4 bases at the same time. And I know that's not possible considering that you were contained and all that kind of stuff. So what he did to you was basically a giant contain after you did a great job of pushing him off at the beginning, and you didn't punish him in any way, shape, or form for cheesing, essentially. Or following a 1-1-1 aggressive build where his command center didn't go down until his second tank arrived here. In addition, you didn't punish his third, but you couldn't get out because he had already rebuilt his protections around the space. Great improvements, a great play in comparison to the other games that I saw. Other things are make sure you're paying close attention to those supply blocks. I know it's really hard, I promise. I still make mistakes with supply blocks. When I don't, I play like a Masters probably too, in a lot of ways. Not all of them, but in a lot of ways. Maybe a Masters 3, Diamond 1. Maybe I'm overreaching. But if I could fix my supply cap problems and making sure that I expand ahead of needing the expansion, basically have the command center where you don't fully saturate it immediately. You don't have that oversaturation like you have here. You have more than a page of SCVs. 16 SCVs is 2 rows, and then your 6 more for your gases. That's all the SCVs you should ever have at one base unless you're getting ready to expand and you just are either getting pushed back, you had to pull them away, something along those lines. And you already have only 3 mineral patches with nothing there, and you're totally out here. So on this map in particular, doing things like grabbing this, doing that, sending all of your stuff down, sending some SCVs here, then here, and then sending in a hit squad of 20 Marines, 3 or 4 medevacs, and just shutting this down, doing your best to cut off reinforcements, and then getting into his production, you can really harm him a lot, and you don't have to do anything risky, like load up medevacs and fly him across where he can get you with Vikings. In addition, you did some really cool things with regards to how you handled it, but you need more tech labs. I personally will never have more than 3 barracks with reactors because Marines are tier 1 units. Obviously, Marauders are not tier 1. They're 1 1/4, 1 1/2, depending on how you want to measure. But they are an excellent unit to make it so that you can handle tanks because they have 3 tank shots versus 2. And then if they are at an advantage in the upgrades, it only takes 1 to kill Marines. So you got to be very, very conscientious of what happens with your Marines. And if you're going to throw your Marines at your opponent, make sure that you are skipping their army as best you can to get to the tanks because you got to get that tank number down. Because if you only had 4 tanks and you had that big ball that you lost at around 13 minutes, I think it was around here, right? 12 minutes, 13 minutes. Yeah, about here. Let's say at this point in the game, you had knocked the tank count down continuously. You'd killed all these tanks off, or you got it down to 3 or 4 tanks. This ball of Marines could have killed all of his tanks. It would be really, really tough with this big of an army to deal with it. But I just want you to be aware that if you had kept his tank count down, that's why I'm like, Liberators, Vikings, just constantly produce them. Like, make it so you're in their face. Get like 3 starports, 4 starports. Like, there's a reason I'm saying that, because remember, Liberators can shoot down, tanks can't shoot up. That's how you shut this down. And these, we have all these Marines. Well, if you have your tanks, 1, 2, 3, 4 tanks, theoretically, in a position that makes it so that those Marines have to run in to the tank line to kill the Liberators, which you just put the Liberator where the very edge of the ring. You only have to like touch it like that, very like tiny little touch. If you could put that ring just a little edge over the tanks, what ends up happening is he has to run his Marines at you, and you get to kill all of them with all of your tanks. 6 kills is a good number. 12 kills, 6 kills, 11 kills, 9 kills. That's a lot of value out of those tanks. 10 kills, 6 more. That's a ton of Marines that have already died. And obviously, you felt like you need to get more army. Oh my goodness, look how much bigger we are. But the problem is he's continuously adding in tanks, and you're not. You're just building in a bunch of Marines. Look, I double clicked on that. That's Marines. So you have 24, 48, 51 Marines. 51 Marines against 10 tanks. And a ball of about another 20 Marines. You're going to lose. Sorry. You just gonna. So you need to have Marauders. You need to have Vikings and Liberators to do that stuff, because you can't. Like, think about it this way. Even if you just did the Marines, Vikings, and Medevacs, if you kill off his Vikings, you could just land a Marine here, and this tank will shoot at those tanks. This tank will shoot at those tanks. You'll kill his tanks. Holy cow! You sack like 4 or 5 Marines, you kill 3 tanks. That's pretty fucking value added, in my opinion. And if his tanks aren't in position to shoot his own stuff, and he doesn't have a ball of Marines and stuff there to protect it, like these ones are unprotected if these were gone, then you could just drop your Marines on top and laugh. So just kind of things to like get in your head. Also, if you really wanted to like say, I hate this fucking game mode the way it's fucking playing out, go get a battle cruiser. Just be like, here's a BC, let's do it, baby, and do that. Because then you can get like 2 or 3 BCs hiding in the back of your base. Yamato down 3 or 4 of his Vikings, get them to pull into your stuff, wait until they come back, Yamato down, so that you could protect them, repair them, Yamato down 2 or 3 more, and then you could just fly him over the army and pull his Marines and stuff in if he doesn't pull back. You literally have the power to do it. That being said, that was a great game. I really do appreciate the change in your play, and I'm trying to get to this. This is what I wanted. Or your different game where you have more experience and more to show from it on it. But there is all that kind of stuff there. Other pieces to be aware of is that you had a really good chance of victory in this area here. In this area here, other than the contain. Look, he's only got 2 tanks, 3 tanks at the 11-minute mark. If you had attacked into his tanks with your whole... he's red, sorry. You had a decent chance to get out and be good around here at the 7-minute mark. Or here at the... what is that? 8-minute mark. So there was a lot of opportunities, and then he snowballed out of control. And you unfortunately weren't able to do damage to him when he was his entire army was on your side of the map, more than that one drop, and you weren't able to ever get air control back to be able to push back those tanks. Tanks have the longest ground range in the game, other than if you really want to call swarm hosts. That's I'm not going to get into it. So just something you need to like think about with regards to how you set yourself up. You're not going to generally win ground army to ground army as siege tank versus Marines or anything other than siege tank. Which is why if you look at around 2014-15, it was all about Marines and tank lines and in TVT, how they were all set up. Now today, it's about who has control of the air. The later the game goes, it's more about air control, so on and so forth. Also of note, Vibes Bronze to GM, his build orders are good enough for you to understand what he's trying to have you do, but his goal, like the timings and things are different. People have evolved because they've seen those builds plenty of times, said, how can I beat the general build that everybody's following? Or the pig build, or whatever. There's like a handful of them that do the bronze to GM and show you how to do it all the way up from the very bottom to the very top. And the reason that they show you that is they're trying to give you the essential skills to understand and look at things and get experience off of the different interactions that you'll have. The reason that you see the GMs go from bronze to GM and have like 5 losses is because they're already GM. They've already learned all the lessons. They already know the micro. They already know, oh, this positioning's bad, or I've seen this build before. They're going to do this thing, and they're able to identify, oh, they went cybercore at this point. That means they're going to be hitting me at this point if they're going to be good, and if they're bad, expect it anyways because they're going to come in up to this point, and then they're going to change to this build because they've seen it. They've played thousands of games, literally tens of thousands of games. If you look at the GM ladder in season, a lot of them are playing more than 200 or 300 games, and that's against other GMs. You got to think about how much information they've taken in and they've experienced, and they're learning about the game to say, oh, this means this. Oh, this is where I can tweak my build ever so slightly so I can sneak in here. Oh, this player does this thing. I've memorized it. I've learned it. And you can kind of get a good idea of like where they're going and what their thought processes are and what they tend to like or dislike. You're not at that level. You're playing completely random players every time. So what you have to do is you have to get the skills, like a build order, exact timings, hitting 0 with your minerals in your production cycles because you're so quick and so crisp on what you're doing. Making sure that you are not getting supply blocked. Making sure that when you get into a situation where it's pressure and you're under a big attack and there's things that are making it so that you're in trouble, instead of freaking out and going, oh my God, the world's ending, saying, okay, calm, we're cool, we're going to see this through, this is what's going on, and I'm going to do that thing. Or do this thing, whatever that response is based off of what you're seeing and experiencing. That being said, wonderful games, and I hope this is helpful. Let me know if you want me to go ahead and review any more, and of course, you saw my other messages with my other offers to help you out. And again, I hope you have a good rest of the day.